Going live, guys. Welcome, everybody, to Cosmic Crew. My name's Aida Farhat, and I will be hosting the show today alongside with Brian Singh, and we have a special guest, Mary Beaver, known as Adonis of Soul. Is that how you say it? I don't have that in front of me, Mary. Is that right?
No, it's okay.
Adonis of Soul.
Soul. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Welcome to Cosmic Crew. And the word ruh
Thanks for having me.
in Hebrew and Arabic means spirit. Yes, so I think this is great to have you, and I'm super excited to have you on today. I'm going to share your bio, and then we'll just open it up and allow you to share some of the things that are going on in your life and what you're doing and the work you're doing and the information you want to share with humanity. I think is important, and I'm excited. So. Mary Beaver is a former U.S. Army human intelligence military analyst with 8 years of service, renowned for her linguistic expertise and cryptological skills. Sorry.
Okay.
Cryptological skills, gifted with real-time memory, she can access vast knowledge instantaneously in high-pressure situations. Her extraordinary experiences include memory of being a super soldier in the MKDELTA programming, undertaking covert missions on spacecraft, and living as a civilian on Mars in one of her former lives. Mary trained on the advanced planet Terra III and traveled to distant galaxies to protect vital resources. Coming from a lineage of Masonic Illuminati families, her family's legacy is steeped in intrigue. Over 40 years ago, her father operated in an underground facility beneath Area 51, unearthing dark secrets that led him to form a resistance movement against governmental control, later causing him to lose his mind and eventually was silenced months before 9/11. Mary's journey is one of courage, intelligence, and relentless pursuit of truth in a world filled with mystery, lies, secret societies, and pursuit to world freedom. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks. I'm glad to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you.
So, Mary,
the stuff that I've been.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit? I'll go. Can you share? Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead. I was going to ask you a question to get it going, but that's fine.
Yeah, so with the tour and kind of what I've been doing, this journey started in 2019. I was deprogrammed by one of the space handlers. There's we all know that this war started so long ago, and it's been in phases. And I got hit by one of those phases in 2019. And it was kind of funny how it happened because this call kept coming in and I couldn't hear this person because it was like between static and wah 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 but it was triggering. So I would scream at the person on the phone and like make threats to them, but I didn't realize what I was doing. So then I'd hang up. And I don't know how many calls I had after that, but what it was is my handlers are in Norway. Okay, so I learned shortly after that everybody has MK Ultra handlers, but what they did after 1960s is they put the handlers in another country, as you know, well, I guess I don't know what they call this, or their test studies, because the handlers were waking up in the 1970s, and so they would go after their handlers because the handlers would get inappropriate, the whole sex kitten program and stuff. So the handlers were starting to be killed. So they make sure that the handlers are outside of the country now. So this Norwegian, individual was trying to contact me and use words. But what happened was the shadow government military was running around trying to kill all the handlers. The bad part about that was is that everybody is unique to certain codes. Like, you know how they talk about in the MK Ultra programming, your trigger words. Your trigger words are specific to your handler. They're the only ones that know it, and they're the only ones that can shut you off. So I don't know if you guys remember, like a lot of military individuals going rogue everywhere. It's because their handlers were triggering them to turn on because they were being hunted. So they were trying to get these people to protect them. But when the handlers got killed, they couldn't be shut off, right? Because nobody knew the shut off word. So it caused a huge problem. And so then you had all these military super soldiers, everybody was kind of activated, and then it's like unknown why they did this and unknown why they did that. And now that we're further into the understanding how people just snap, it's like, oh, they got deprogrammed, but their handler got killed, so they couldn't shut them off, so they had to take them out, you know, because it was kind of a rogue thing. And so what he was trying to do was find out possibly what my deprogramming word was, because they also have deprogrammers. And so now they stopped killing the programmers and locking them up until they gave the program words and the deprogram words, because these are significant to just every individual. Like if I was an MK Ultra handler, I would have certain words that nobody else would know because I wouldn't want them to take that away from me. You know, that's kind of what they did. So they had killed my original programmer, and so they had to figure out what Norwegian word would, you know, trigger me to turn on, turn off, and then deprogram. So it finally got figured out, and it was like, you know how in your head your foot goes numb and tingly? That's what it felt like. Like it was tingly when I was getting deprogrammed. It was like, oh my God. And it was dangerous though because I ended up having a brain aneurysm because too much information was coming in, and I survived it. I do have a mushroom on my brain because of it, because it was an explosion. And every time I get a CT scan, the doctors are like, "Did you know you had a brain aneurysm?" And I'm like, "Yeah, isn't that cool? I survived it."
I'm so glad you
So,
survived it, Mary.
so yeah,
Yeah,
that's where that journey
that's
started
that's
for
pretty
sure.
deep. That's a big deal. I don't think
Yeah.
people realize how big. Yeah, good.
Well, and then they said that we had the super soldiers had 3 implants. So there's different levels. There, not everybody's a super soldier. Okay, look at the space program like the military. They're going to have different sections for everybody. So you have your special forces group, which would be considered, you know, your Delta Force programs, and then you have your regular military platoons. We have 160. You've got supply, you've got banking, you know, you've got the um, food and travel, and you know, you have all these different roles that the military plays. So that's when in my earlier shows when I was talking about everybody was taken and scanned. So your DNA puts you specifically where they needed to. So between 1960 and now, children between the ages 4 and 5, or 4, I'm sorry, 5 and 7, some 4, were taken to these programs to be scanned to see if you were gonna. It's like us going to the recruiting office and we take the test, but these kids go through scanners to see what their DNA is, and then they're put through the doors, MK Ultra, MK Gamma, NK Alpha. There's just different doors like Disneyland. You're going through these different doors because those are your specifications, and that's how we're all groomed on the Magic School Bus, and nobody knows about it because of all the illusions.
Can you
Yeah.
talk about the Magic School Bus more? What is that an allusion to?
So the Magic School Bus is how they take the children. So public school gives them the authorization that you gave as a parent consent for them to take your children to the underground, and nobody gets harmed. Obviously, they're just scanning the children. And but again, they're looking to see where they're going to put you in this universal war that took place. So they can age progress you, age regress you. And the Magic School Bus is when you went on field trips. And I did talk to some people. They're like, no, I went on all those field trips. And I'm like, great, because you saw the same illusion the kids did. Everybody at those gates that you had to pay admission to get into, that was, you know, those are your handlers. They're scanning you in. And you're just there to make sure the
So are
kids are
you saying,
safe.
wait a minute, is that only for like Disneyland? Is that all amusement
No,
parks? I mean, or
no, it's not that. that's just like the image I was trying to give you guys, because it's
Oh,
hard for
okay,
me
I see.
to show you the image of what it looks like when you get to the underground base. So there's all these
Mm.
gates, right? There's not
Okay,
just
that's where I
one
was getting
gate.
confused. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
like basically, so it's like you're kind of calling it the magic school bus, but it's not like you're literally going to Disney World. This is like what's happening where you're on a bus and you're going to an underground facility somewhere.
Yes.
Now where I gotta ask, like, um, let's say you're in one of these gate programs, gifted and talented. They put you on a school bus. Like that school bus, where is it driving to specifically? Is it like literally driving to like the closest museum and then there's like an underground entrance from there? Or like how does that work? Like because I'm just
Right,
wondering
she's
if,
using that as a.
well, I know, but
It's
I'm
not
just
a real
wondering,
school bus.
but I'm wondering like what isn't there like a security concern? Like if you literally have a bus full of children, right? And you're trying to get to a facility, like where are the entrances to these facilities in relationship
They're
to every.
everywhere. You have to remember, we're in a multi-dimensional planet. So, for example, the kids, like little kids that went to the NASA buildings, again, you have these guards and they scan everybody in. You're just seeing them as an illusion. And then once you go through that gate, you're going into a portal. So it takes you down into that. Some of them get driven to the zoo. Zoos have multiple gates, like 2, 3, or 4, depending on how busy they get, right? So you're going through a gate. On the other side of that gate, in your mind, it's this big zoo. But really, what they're doing is they first scan you, your DNA. You go through a sequence, and then they're like, oh, our group's going to go over here. Your group's going to go this way. Our group's going to go this way. Do you see how they decompartmentalize you guys into groups? That's because those kids just
You're
got
really
scanned.
making me think about all the different things I did as
Trips
a
you've been on. Because that's where the answers are. They're in your childhood.
summer
You just
camp.
have to
Like
remember.
Max Spears used to talk about that. Here.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have quite a bit of memory that I haven't come forward with yet, but I love talking to people like yourself, Mary, that have, you know, been able to put the pieces together and have real recall. I think that's important.
Right.
So Mary, you were getting, you had this Norwegian voice yelling at you. The line was staticky. That was a while ago. They've since figured out your activation and deactivation codes. I would take it with another handler now. And then
Right.
what is your current status as far as you know it?
So when you break those kill switches. Some can be physical, some can be trauma induced. Mine was trauma induced. So there's not physical equipment inside of me, okay? So trauma induced means that you've been beaten down so much physically, mentally, emotionally, and it creates a fail safe inside your body. The three biggest ones are the brain aneurysm, heart attack, and stroke. I don't know where they put the stroke one because I haven't had a stroke yet. So I have a third switch that hasn't been broken, but once it's broken, nobody can control you in that aspect. So they can't control my mind anymore. They can't control my heart because I was in the MKDELTA programming, and they don't allow MKDELTA programmers to fall in love. Because if you fall in love, you start to heal. So all my relationships have been like traumatic. It's weird. You know what I mean? Like there's that block. They die or they go away or they're like, "Oh, I don't love you." There's this trauma with it because they can't control you if you have somebody fighting with you. You know what I mean? So I don't know much about the MK Alpha programming other than it's like the regular, units of soldiers here. It's not as extreme as the MK Delta military programming. Um, but they're still fail safes that we have. Some people have chips, some people have stuff in their jaw. Again, I've seen those. I actually in the dentist place behind me, that's where I saw it. There was this Asian kid who came up from San Francisco and thought maybe he was coming out to the country. I'm like, this is the worst town to come into because it's run by the Illuminati. And I went in because I got into
Can
a
I ask
fight in
what town that
2019.
is?
Lotus, Placerville area.
Oh, California?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I lived in San Francisco for 20 years. I'm an Asian
Did
guy.
you?
So
You're like, wait,
Hmm.
wait.
Like, wait a second, hey, but not as a child. Sorry, keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, I mean, he was like maybe young 20s, late teens, but he was very uneasy, right? So he left and he's like he's in this panic because I read body language. So that poor kid like he was trying to find something. And so the gal sets me in the chair and they still had his x-rays up, right? And in his jaw, under his tooth, he had a chip. And I was like, at first I was like, wait, is that mine? And she looked, she's like, oh gosh, no. And she was trying to get it off and she ended up dropping it. So I'm like, oh my
Unbelievable.
God, I totally just saw somebody's jaw chipped. And they went through the tooth to do it. So now it made me think, I'm like, okay, I'd rather my teeth just rot out before those guys put chips in my jawline. So
Hmm.
yeah, you start to see things when you start to be deprogrammed. You're like, okay, everybody's like in on this thing. The restaurants, the gas stations, I mean, they're all handlers.
But that's the thing. It's not like every restaurant, every gas station, but more like in certain regions or there's certain facilities. And so you can get the impression that they're everywhere. And in a way they are, but it's not like every restaurant or gas station, or every hotel. But having said that, Arkeem
Can
has
I just
pointed out,
Yeah.
oh, one second, real quick. Arkeem Ra has pointed out that there's certain hotel chains where, and he's in our audience right now. Hey, Arkeem. There's like a star compass symbol at the entrance way, and what that denotes is that may denote there's a Stargate facility there, like a jump room. Get Ida.
A
No, I
jump
was just going to
room.
say, well, she mentioned. I just quickly remember when I was going through severe targeting, and it's Simon Parks that told me that I broke programming, and I'm confident that I did. But I remember going into a restaurant and having these three men, which looked like military, but they were dressed in regular, street attire or whatever. And I ended up getting food sickness that night. They were trying to get me to drop my frequency and like targeted me. I went into Whole Foods, and this woman, I'm looking for a natural product. Mary, honest to God, this lady, she's talking to me normally, and then out of nowhere, she starts doing all this weird stuff, and I'm like in shock, like looking at her, like, "What are you doing, lady?" And they sent me and my girlfriend's daughter was with me. I was babysitting her. We walked home, Silver Spring, right outside of DC. By the way, the hotels, the TON, which what's his name? Oh my God, my mind's going blank. Okay, I'll think of it in a second. He's the one that had mentioned about the TON being a code for the secret societies that they can find their people there. Jay Parker. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jay Parker, Mary, but
What is
he's
the
also grew up in the
TON?
Illuminati family. TON is a code. So Washington, Trenton,
Oh, okay.
Wheaton, Silverton, Hilton, everything with the TON at the end is a code for them to. It's basically letting anybody that's involved in whatever secret society. I mean, there's so many out there, but the most common, the Masons, that they're able to. They know that their people are there. They can find their people there,
So
basically.
let
But
me explain how the secret societies works. The Masons, the reason they're so big, because they're like, look at it this way, they're like the high school of the secret societies. And
sure,
then the Jesuits, the Illuminati, the Templars, they're the colleges. They're the frat, whatever you call that nonsense. Masons is where you're just like entry level, you're coming in, and between 32 and 33 you decide if you want to go above 33. So the reason it says the Masons stop at 33, you really don't, but you do. Okay, but if you just say, hey, I want to go above 33, because 33 is where they teach you to worship the two gods. So they still worship creator, the owner of the earth, and they worship Baal, the one who was allowed to rule the earth. Okay, so there's still the two gods. Now, if you want to go further, um, then you go into the 33s and stuff like that. That's why that guy David Wynn Miller was like, "Oh, I'm a 92nd degree Mason, right? I'm a majestic, but I've never given any of my oaths to anybody. I'm like, you can't have it. My oath is to the one, and that's it. I'm here to do his work. I'm here to fight that war, whatever it looks like. I could die tomorrow, and that was the war I fought, you know."
Well, let me
So
ask you this, Mary. When you say the two gods, what two gods are you referring to? Are we talking about the Enki and the Enlil and
no,
I
those
mean,
guys are. You guys give them way too much credit. They're real. They actually do have a corporation. I have their information. It's awesome. Their sister is still alive. They're still alive. Um,
are you talking about the
they
two gods or Enki and Enlil? Who are you
they're
referring
not
to? Just
gods.
so I'm clear.
They're just humans.
Well, Enki and Enlil, you mean?
hmm
Yeah. Okay. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
But
but
they've
in
lived a
terms of
long
the
time.
Freemasons, though, when you say the two gods of Freemasonry, are you talking about God, and
The
then
real
Baal?
gods.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
God Baal, he has another name. I can't remember it offhand. But in this era, he's called Baal, or Moloch, or whatever, however you guys want to tear that down. He's a
Moloch.
god. He was Moloch. Yeah, he was born of Sophia. Sophia is a very good, majestic god. Blessings everywhere. But she created a child without permission. So the reason the universe is so strict is because if you don't follow the rules out there, it can cause negative frequencies. So let's just say, so if that child that Sophie created was a god, but he was a negative frequency because she didn't have permission, right? So you have to have permission in order to do things. So that's why I was like in my other videos, if you don't get on those ships because you lose free will. And when you lose free will out in the universe, you don't have free will out there. The laws that apply here don't apply out there. Okay, it's like going to another country. I'm not going to go to China thinking I'm going to be like, oh, I'm an American. I have all the rights in the world. No, they're going to behead me, shoot me, and they're going to be like, yeah,
Sure.
right.
Yep.
That is going to happen out there too. The spaceports are open. You can go get an $80,000 black passport and go to Mars, on all the other places, but you have to learn the laws first. That's what all this is happening for. They're trying to teach everybody. It should have been done in the 60s, but it wasn't because that was power hungry. Oh, we want to do it ourselves. We don't want to share this because we're not meant to stay here. We're migratory species. So whether we migrate from here to other countries or migrate from here to other planets or galaxies, we're just curious by nature because we're co-creators. Co-creators we have to absorb everything. We have to see why something works and then try to enhance it. That's
Mhm.
our God-given gift. So whatever it is that anybody wants to do, computer technology, spirituality, doctors and stuff like that, you are not meant to sit here stagnant going, okay, I've been through this fraternity, I've gotten this, I have this certificate. You know why two doctors that had the same education have different sized certificates in their office?
No.
Because that's the box. You can't think outside that box. They're not allowed to go outside that box. So
Interesting.
the one
Never
doctor
thought of
that
it that
comes
way, but that makes sense. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So the one doctor from
Mhm.
Yale has this huge certificate because he's higher up in the society, right? The one who has a
Mhm.
small certificate but the same credentials, he's only in the Masons. So he's
Mhm.
not allowed to, know more than what he knows. That's why when you talk to them and say, "Look, I know that you can do this," and they're looking at you like, "No, I can't." They're not allowed to. They're literally inside that box. Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, I don't understand why anybody gives allegiance to anything outside of themselves ever. That's just my
Well,
own
it's the
personal.
same
I
concept
mean,
with
we could, yeah.
it's the same
Go ahead. I'm
concept
sorry.
with the creator. Again, there's creator gods. We're co-creators who can become creator gods of other worlds, universes, and stuff like that. This is step one. Could you imagine the other steps after this? I mean, but step
Sure.
one's hardest, right? This is boot camp. This is the first 2 weeks, probably 2 million years of our lives to get to those other steps. So that's really where you're at. The prize is the body. So the body has the God DNA strand in it. When you were born with 100 strands of DNA. And the contract that is given, uh, is because they have to cut those strands and you have to work for those strands back. It wasn't supposed to be this hard, but something in the past made it difficult. Somebody, you know, it only takes that one guy to mess it all up for the rest of us, right? So, and that happened. There was a one guy named Metatron. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but you got to know the truth, right? So Metatron, he made it. He got all the way to the top, to in front of God, and God said, "You can become your own God." Well, guess what? He didn't want to recreate his own metaverse. He wanted to take this one over. So he captured God in the Metatronic cube and ruled over heaven. That was where the whole heaven war happened, and that's when we fell into what was called the Dark Ages. So you have to look at the different calendars of ages and eras and stuff like that. So over 1,000,000 years, Metatron played God because you can't kill God. So he absorbed his energy and played God. And he was human. He was down here.
What would be another name for Metatron, Mary, if you don't mind? Like
no, that was his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but would
He's
people
actually
know him as
going.
something else besides Metatron? I know that. No. Okay.
No, that was about
What?
3 million years ago.
I mean, some people try to relate Enoch, I think, to Metatron, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's might be what you're talking about. But
no,
that's
Metatron was
reference it.
Metatron. So
Okay.
you have pretenders. Like Brian, people want to pretend to be you. They're like, oh, I'm Brian. I'm the real one, blah, blah, blah. But they're pretenders. So, for example, Loki absolutely adores Lucifer. So he pretends to be Lucifer all the time. So, and they're both shapeshifters. So why not, you know? So yeah, you
Okay.
have your pretenders. But there's only one person that can do something. And they'll try to give themselves other names throughout centuries. But that's why your birth certificate name is the most important, because that's what started the first surety bond on you. It doesn't matter what you changed it to. If you don't collect that first one, you know, you're not going to get your God-given inheritance. So,
Can we talk about that, Mary?
Well,
Because I
I
know
think
that
that's
you're also big on that, or very knowledgeable in terms of like the
yes.
straw man and the whole U.S. corporation, and then regaining our sovereignty. Can you tell us about that? And then one of my questions has been, with all the hopefully changes under this incoming administration, is a lot of this stuff going to change, or do people still, no matter what, have to jump through all these legalistic hoops to kind of reestablish ourselves outside of the U.S. corporation?
Yeah. So I was doing all that stuff too, like everybody else in all these groups, the Patriot movements and then the strawman movements. And it kind of did the same thing. We would get excited. It's like the hopium, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it got to the point like there was no way out. Like it was something different but ended the same way. We all smacked that glass window. Maybe this time, maybe this time, maybe this time. You know, like the bee, and then eventually you just drop and you're like, I give up, right? There's just no way out. And that's where I was, and that's where it came in 2 year ago, April 2023. And I was approached by a Mason and he gave me their master exit. So I was like, oh my God, I was reading and I was like, this is it. This is the thing I needed, right? It's the missing piece. So I got excited, shared it with a few friends of mine at the time, and I'm typing it up, like geeking out, like, yeah. But then I get to page like 4 and 5 and I'm like, wait a minute, something's missing. You know, my energy kind of changed. I was like, I'm going to stop and come back. 2 weeks later, I there had to be like some government internet work going on because they Social Security dropped my autistic son's Social Security funds, and so I'm like, why'd you do that? And they were like, oh, we're missing some documents. We need you to come in. And I'm like, what do you need? They're like, well, we just need you to come in. So I'm like, I don't want to come in there. So they got me in there, and I'm sitting there fighting with this guy. Like, you need to just put that back on. You guys have access to everything. You don't need me to bring in tax returns. You have access to the tax return. You can download it. He's like, hold on, I have something for you. Wait here. And he comes back like 5 minutes later. And I was looking at this envelope he had. It's called an inner office envelope, but it had so many like secret society stickers on it. I'm like, you can just keep that. I don't want it. No, no, we're not even touching it. He's like, I need to give this to you.
Wow.
I literally took my purse and blocked the window so he couldn't slide it under. I'm like, nope, I don't want it. We're not doing it because I know what it is. I'm in these families, and every time I saw envelopes like that, it was some kind of pledge, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I hate all of you.
Well, I mean, what would you expect to find in that envelope? Like pledges? Like what kind? If you could describe that for us.
So what they look like, and I know that some people have
And
seen
giving
these, and
allegiance to them.
well, you're giving them something, yes. So they're
Yeah.
usually a big packet with certificates, and then there's this one bond-like certificate with like real gold trim around it, elegant writing, and it's all handwritten because these people are very particular about how these things are written. And then you'll have some royals signature in gold ink, real gold, because they have to sign in gold. Okay, and it has something to do with the treasury. And all my life, I've been approached with those, and I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm not going to sign it, right? I had the better interest of being like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So what it is they were trying to get me to sign over my treasury. And I knew what the treasury was, and I wasn't going to do it. But that's not what that packet was this time, right? So, and I didn't know what was in it. And he's like, look, I
I
have to
mean,
give this
but
to
one
you.
thing, and then my other thing, Mary, is it's one thing to take a packet, but just taking it, that didn't mean you signed it, or by if they have a packet's already prepared for you, just by you taking it, that's considered acceptance.
In their world, yes, because you have to remember these are very spiritual old beings. So they know the minute you touch it, they vibrate because energy exchange. So they'll know when I touch that envelope because my energy goes into it. They have spiritual trackers. Like it doesn't matter. You guys don't have to have any kind of equipment. You don't
Right.
have to have any kind of electronics. They can still find you out in the woods. Do you know how?
They're psychic. They're
They
spirit.
have
No,
soul trackers.
Yeah.
They
that's
take a
absolutely
slice of
correct.
your soul when you're born, so
Yeah.
if you try to escape, they can find you. That's why I'm like, why do you bother running away? They can find you.
Well, I thought something that you said on the typical skeptic with Robert that was fascinating, and it kind of made me think about my own situation, Mary. And you had said that they hide you in certain families. And when I was born, my mother put Miller on the birth certificate, but my last name is Farhat. My father's name was Farhat. He came over from Palestine and wasn't a legal citizen here. So to protect, at least that's the story that was told, she put her best friend's last name Miller on there. But all my school records said Farhat. The only thing that had Miller was my birth certificate, in which I've had changed to my real name. But I thought that was fascinating because I always felt that myself, my sister, and my brother were being hidden, knowing that my father was Elohim, and I have a lot more that I'm going to be presenting at some point. But I think it's fascinating. Why do you think you didn't go too much in that, and I did want to ask you that if you don't mind. Why would they want to hide children in families they don't belong to? Is that what you mean? What was it that you were trying to get? Okay, do you mind sharing about that? I thought
Yeah,
it
that's
was
where I was kind of going to lead into.
okay.
Yeah. So I went ahead and took the packet because he's like, look, I just have to give this to you. He's like, Mary, if you want to throw it away in the trash before you leave the building, you can do that too. He's like, but I have to give this to you. So then I had to think about it. His life's in danger, right? He's holding this document from God knows who these people are. They're very high in the world. You can tell with the stamps. Again, the stamps, the stickers, their signatures, it's nothing like you guys have ever seen. But once you see them, you're like, I don't want that. There's something involved in that and I don't want to do it.
Hmm.
And then what's the
So
vibe you got off this guy? I mean, here's a guy in the Social Security office, and most people, 99% of us would assume he's just a low-level government worker for the feds. Who cares? And it's like, no, he's like John Wick, messenger for the Illuminati. I mean, I half expect him to whip out a medallion and get a blood prick or something.
right. No, okay, so not everybody is against you, okay? There's the war that's going on is between good and evil. There are people put in place. So think about it this way. We in our level right here, we have a lot of good people, and then there's some that are just jerks, and you know, it's like, oh my God, you just need to drop off a cliff somewhere. But those are your people, right? So even though these guys may come from another civilization, they're in the same boat we are. They have people above us controlling us, so they have to do their job just as much as we have to do our job. It sucks, you know, they have to be jerks about it half the time, but they have to survive too. You know, and then if we're in a situation, I learned that in the
So he's
military.
basically he's a henchman. He's got to do his job. He's
He's
like,
got to do his
you know,
job.
like the vast majority of people in that office are probably clueless, just normal government office workers. And then
Well,
you
they don't
get
want to
people like
know.
they don't want to know, right?
They
Because
don't.
sometimes they find out, and then that's where
Well,
I've heard scandals happening, like at post offices, where people are
Yep.
finding out dirty stuff, and then a postal worker ends up dead in a dumpster behind the one San Francisco post office, the main one. That
Right.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, a lot of them also are part of the, you know, call it the secrets. I don't know what you want to call it. Satanists. They present themselves as Christians, and behind closed doors, they're doing satanic rituals, offering people up to
So the
Moloch. I
cult
was one of them.
members.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly what they
Well,
are.
and then there's that again, and I'm going to touch on that a lot also in the tour,
I'm excited for
what
your
that
tour,
really
Mary.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
please
I'm
tell us about your
waiting.
tour. I tried to post the link, and YouTube keeps blocking it because I'm posting a link. So if you could please tell us more about your Matrix Rehab tour, when and
So,
Yeah, and
where.
I
and
And
also
yeah,
have some questions I want to get to. So I know we're kind of a little all over the place, but I think
it's
we're
always
doing
with me.
well.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's like, where do we
Okay.
start with you?
Yeah, and
So the
also have
Matrix
you come back after your tour so we could talk about, because I can't wait to see the artifacts and the books that you were referring to. You had
Right.
mentioned that you would
Well,
be, yeah.
I, I have one of them I can show you. Uh, I can't open it, but I'll open it where it is. So this is a Jesuit high school book. So I'm gonna try to get it in. So you can get the title.
Burnham Celestial Handbook.
Uh-huh. So this one
Can
is
people
already
order that?
expired. If you can find it, yeah. So this is high school level teaching of the universe. Okay. I have 3 editions of his. But this is what they teach the Jesuits. Again, you have to be like in college level. This is a high school level. These are groomed family member levels. They give you all the celestial projects, the space. You know, when you talk about like, what do you call that? Like I'm a Cancer, and then you have Geminis and Taurus. There's actually more, but all those are kind of in there, and they're interesting,
What?
and I'm
Is that
teaching
right?
my kids. Yep.
Okay.
So I teach my kids this stuff, because you have to know that there's more out there. That's why they call us belligerent, because you don't know. You think there's 9 planets when really there's like 134. And then
Mhm.
you don't know about the quadrants. We're in the alpha quadrant, which makes us what? Number 1, right? And then everyone's like, what's in the center of the universe? Why are we so important? Why is there over 200 species of aliens coming down here? Because we are the beginning of the universe. This is the uterus of creation. Creation is the what would you call God's wife? But they don't talk about her no more because they don't want you to know there's another part. So, and she comes from the dark universe. The dark universe is the masculine, and he's the dad. He's the dad energy that's coming in like, oh, you're beating up my daughter. This is enough, right? So, my brain is like really out there, so it's really hard for people to get on that level. But once you start to deprogram, you remember. So, the
Mm.
Matrix tour, and the reason I called it, what I did, the Matrix Rehab tour, is because we're literally all in rehab. Like you don't have to be on a drug, a hallucinogenic. We are on the drug of, amnesia. So you have to break free from that. Not rehab's just not for people on a drug. It's our minds need to be opened because we've won the war. Okay, here's a term I'm going to tell you. The world is safe, okay? The earth is under mind control. So it's just us. We're free, but you don't know you're free because the abuse of the mind control is so generational. They can't switch on the stuff to help us at all because it's just too embedded in our DNA. We have to do it individually. And the only way to do that, because they've tried and it's failed. That's why all these people are dying. It's not really the vaccine. Yes, that is some of the vaccine, but it's more they've tried everything they could, but because we're so generationally beaten up and DNA, it's the monarch. It is 100% monarch. So that butterfly takes 4 generations to get from Mexico to Canada. But how do they do that? It's the abuse, it's the fight. They have to fight birds, they have to fight other, lizards, they have to put their eggs in other places. But how does that genetic sequence remember to go north and then fly back south? That's a lot of generations, right? So that was the beginning of the monarch program. So they did that to us in order to control us, but they've been doing it for 1,000 years, even though they've told us it's only been since the 1960s. It's not. It's been a long time. So we're free, but you don't know you're free. Neither do they. The bad guys don't, the good guys don't. The only ones that do are the guardians. So now the guardians are in trouble because they let it happen. So the owner, and I always call it the owner of this world, so no, because the real name is embedded in your memory. The owner of this world has said it's enough. We're done. They made the guardians responsible for what they did, because now not even creator can come in here and snap his finger and say, okay, you're free. It's just too genetically like impossible. So you have to do it on an individual basis. So I was told to kind of bring out the video that I was deprogrammed with. And you guys, some of you have seen little clips of this floating around, but this is the whole video. And that'll be on I'm going to play that an hour before we start while we're setting up. And that's going to trigger a lot in you guys. And then we're going to go into just the basics of what you might have been, what you're going to get from that. But I don't have the new video for the younger generation today because they're mind controlled by China. That's why they're all
let me
like,
share my screen here so we can show
Yeah.
this, and then tell us about the connection with China, because my understanding, from what I can tell, with the Chinese Communist Party, they've been taken over by like the Rothschild Illuminati types, so that's why they're pushing the New World Order, smart city stuff. That's kind of like was my take on them right now. And then
right.
I could share my
That-
screen. I'm
that-
going to put her.
Well, just
Mary.
real quick while you're doing that, Brian, there are some that believe that that's exactly what's taking place in California, is that they're attempting to build smart cities there. So that's a big concern. I mean, I'm in Augustine, the oldest city in the United States. And, I've thought about finding, moving out into the somewhere, but I don't even know. It's like you can't hide from any of it. You really have to figure out from where you're at the best resources or the best to navigate to a place that's, you feel you can thrive and survive. I mean, I don't know.
Ida, can you put my screen up here? I'm sharing.
I can. Where I don't see it.
So
Present.
under for present, you should be able to click on it, and it should be able to allow others to present.
Share screen. Share screen.
Not you share a screen, but you want to let me share my screen.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out. Give me a minute. I will do my best, Brian. There you go. I got it.
Yep. Okay, let me know when you
Do
have
it again.
Mary.
I just accidentally hit it. There it goes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go. So this next month, Sunday, February 23rd, in Folsom, California, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is in partnership with our friends at Journey to Truth. Now they're presenting Mary Beaver's Matrix Rehab Tour, Opening the Green Door, 6 hours of disclosure, reptinoids and looking glass future probabilities, maps of underground bases, lost countries, and spaceports, 200 ET species, and which ones are among us. It's early bird pass is only $15. That's an amazing steal. Like, wow.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to be buying a ticket and supporting Mary.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like you're providing an amazing value for the people of Northern California. and I'm having a hard time posting the link because StreamYard's blocking me from posting links, but it's journeytotruth.ticketspice.com slash matrix dash rehab dash tour dash opening dash the dash green the door. all
Okay,
one
it's
word.
in the on the Facebook post, guys, in Cosmic Rue, and in Full Disclosure Now, and on my page. Brian and Mary have both been tagged. It's in the comment section, so you will find it. It's not a
It's an
hard
amazing value, Margaret. I mean, as a conference organizer
Mary.
myself, I'm sorry, Mary. I'm taking Mary, Mark. Well, I do say so myself, and I'd love to have
Mary.
you at our conference
Mary
too,
Margaret.
Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, so the in-person one is 50. I mean, it's still a good one. I've only limited to 50 people. Just because if I think it gets too big, we might have problem with CIA or something. Not really a problem. They know better,
They're going to
so
come by
I do have a
anyway.
clearance.
I mean, they're going to come
Well,
by
Mary,
anyway.
would you consider presenting at our conference possibly? Are you interested in coming to Florida?
Yeah, where?
Brian?
St. Pete Beach in July. It's just
That's
outside of
Florida?
Tampa. Yeah.
Yes, it's Florida.
Oh, okay.
So it's a Gulf Coast side.
Tentatively,
Lisa
yes,
Beach got her
but
ticket.
I do know that they try to stop me from going to other people's stuff. I got stopped going to Vegas that one time. They took $9,000 out of my account, so I couldn't drive down there.
Was that for Stairway to the Stars Ascension Fest?
I think so. Yeah, I know that the host was really upset, and there was nothing I could do. Like I went to go pick up the rental, and my card declined. I'm like, wait, what? No, there's money in there. I totally saved up for this whole thing. And I even called, what was it? The Federal Bureau of Consumer Affairs, right? And I was like, look, they took my money, and they looked into it. They opened a whole case, and then I was calling and bugging them, and he's like, well, there's really not much we can do. I was like, wait a minute. So the bank can steal my money, but if I rob from the bank, I get arrested? And they're like, yeah, pretty much. I was like, what?
Yeah. I remember when that was going on with you, but
One. Right now, Capital One, thousands of people are having their direct deposits not showing up. Oops.
Right?
Okay,
yeah,
but
no, it was a mess,
what I want to see is, Mary, because we're prepared to have right now. Our webmaster is updating our the website so that we can get all our presenters out there, so people know if they're buying a ticket who's presenting. And
we'll follow up with Mary later offline. We can't put her on the pressure like that now. You've got.
That's okay.
we'll follow up.
No,
with you.
I would love to. I just know that some people up there will stop me because I can bring things, like I said, you guys don't have. But I was asked, and I do communicate with the Deep Space program through emails and stuff because, again, they don't speak English, but we have great linguists,
well, can we ask you about
stuff
that?
coming out now, huh?
Can we ask you, like, in terms of your more galactic or secret space program contacts, where are they right now in terms of full disclosure? Are they supportive? Are they against? Is it a mix of them? And what does that look like?
There's a few resistance. So on the whole journey of the straw man, I'm an heir to something big. Everybody's an heir. Just what level of heir you're at. This is where I was pushed in, and that's why I was all so secret. Naturally, these guys shouldn't have to use the Social Security to send me an envelope, but that's at that time 2 years ago. We all know where that feeling was. It was like, is this even real? You know what I mean? So, hold on, my screen is really dark. That's weird.
Because you've mentioned
heir,
King Alexander Parmalov before, and Arkeem has really met this person in the programs and says this guy's a real jerk. But apparently he's one of these heirs to the earth according to the bloodline families or something. Yeah, you could talk about that, please.
So they're usurpers, okay? Let's put it this way. Let's say your family died and you had to go live with your aunt. They show it in the movies, and your aunt is your caretaker, okay? and you're their ward. That's why
And
we're
now she owns
wards of
everything.
estates. Yes.
What do you
So
know?
they cover your estates, right? So when you become of age, they're supposed to teach you how to claim your estates as an adult, but instead they're like, you'll never grow up, you'll never be anything. You're not you're just gonna you're only good enough to wash the mud off my shoes. That's where we're all at, right? Because all these usurping family members, now we're all related. I don't know which king I'm under, but I can tell you right now he's scared. Or she. I think it's a she. But anyways, they're not the legitimate heirs. They're entitled, but they're not legitimate. So legitimacy goes through energy sequences. So I have what's called the Ninhursag energy sequence, which is the mother energy that is feared among all the secret societies, because when it really comes down to it in a family structure, when mom loses her crap, right? It's like, holy shit, not even dad can stop that punishment. But that's like the last thing that's ever going to happen. Normally we're afraid of our dads coming home to get that spanking, but we're preparing for it mentally. You can't prepare for when mother energy is like done. And it scares them all because you don't know, it's unpredictable.
Yeah,
Is
you
it
don't know
going to
what mom's going to
stop?
do. Dad's
Right.
going to spank you, but you don't know what mom's going to do. She can make life
Right.
terrible in ways you can't even imagine yet.
Right. So all these people are fighting the father, right? They're like, oh, it's just dad. He'll kill some of us. He won't. We'll come back. We'll just do it again. They know how to jump bodies. They're like, whatever, dad. You might be the god of all, but you know what? It's okay. We're going to fight you. And that's what's been going on. So, and then we're going to take your kids and we're going to mess with them just to piss you off, right? But now creation's gotten involved. They're panicking because creation is the key to everything. She is even the one that gave creator his existence. So they are the trinity in heaven, and Jesus is the son, the real Jesus. I mean, they're all real, but the main one. So the Trinity is the Queen of Heaven, Creator, and Jesus. And the order of it is we are co-creators under Jesus. That's why he said, through me, you get to the Father. So you're a co-creator, and all the illegitimate energies have taken it upon themselves to be over you, ill-educate you, put you in a utopia of illusions, and keep you entertained like a child. Because if you had your 1,000 years of life, guess how old you'd be? You don't know? You'd be about maybe 13 right now.
Oh, you mean like in dog years, kind of like you converted it? Like we're so
Mm.
childlike and babyish, like compared to
We
like
are
when we're 15.
childlike.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I have
dog
known
And
them
we
years
don't,
really.
we're
is
not
a
able to
lot.
live to we're because our lives are so short. It's difficult for us to really spiritually evolve in any one human life in a span of 75
Right.
years.
So yeah, so we're all still children. So when they say they're trafficking the children of God, they mean anybody under 100 years old.
That's all of us.
Nobody's an adult at all. Even though you're in an adult body, you're having children. That's what it means in reality. You were born here with 1,000 years of life, 10,000 years, whatever your purpose was, and they stole it from you. So they said, well, we're going to trial and error you in 100 years. We're going to fast track you. Just imagine what it was in the Wild West days. Those people only lived to 30, 40 years old. Could you imagine that mess?
No, I appreciate what you're saying because I often think to myself, Mary, as I'll be 57 this year, and I think about it wasn't until I hit my 40s, mid 40s, that I really started to emotionally mature. Like I kind of just went through life because, well, first off, I was being used in the projects and programs and so forth. But when I had my full awakening and realized like my whole life was not what I thought it was, quite literally like this unveiling.
Right.
And then I had to go through the dark night of the soul and deal with all the emotional, immature choices I made that I was programmed to do, that now I broke program and I have to re-raise myself, if that makes sense. Like learn what
Not
values and
really. It's
morals.
just you don't have to raise yourself. You just have to remember.
Well, not
You were
maybe that's not the
brought
right way to say it, but I
well,
needed to
okay.
grow up quick.
Yeah,
Like,
and just so you guys know, there is a Luciferian love and light program going around. You need to be careful with, because they take your truth and they mix it up with some other stuff. So
I don't do the
calm
love and
down with
lights.
being
Yeah.
healers, calm down with being, we're still children. We are okay. God wants you to make mistakes. He needs you to make mistakes because that's how you learn. I mean, don't do the ones where you jump off a cliff and die. But that's, you're just going to learn pain at that point. But you have to make
Right.
mistakes. Children make mistakes. And then the whole, the whole one source thing, that's being exacerbated into some weird nonsense. I don't know what's going on with that. Yes, we are one source, but if you have children, you give birth to a child, that child's not you. It's not your clone. It's not, that is, you gave birth to a child who has its own life. It is a part of you and always will be, but they have their own experience. They have their own mission. They have their own thing. That's what you are. So when that whole one source, we're all one, that's not what that means. It's, don't get into the lost, that they're just trying to get you into the new matrix, and I'm trying to get you out of that matrix. So there's the push
It's
and the
like the airy
pull.
fairy love and light stuff where there's no
Yeah, I
personal
don't do all
responsibility.
that. And I don't do the
Right.
whole, oh, we're all
You're
one. I say we're all
right.
connected for sure.
Right. We're an
But,
energy sequence.
it's
Yeah.
going to require a lot of people to, like, we have to move out of duality, which is going to be a very difficult thing considering that we live in a world that is made, that is how we have the experience for soul growth, is through the dualistic experiences that we have. Moving and balancing that and understanding there's good in the bad and bad in the good. There's good in the dark and there's good in the light, or bad in the
Where are we
way.
going
There's
right
not
now?
everything all. I'm sorry, Brian.
I was going to say, well, given what you're just saying here, Ida, in terms of like the balance and duality, and Mary's been indicating, like, as we all know, we've been so out of balance so badly for
Sure.
so long.
Mhm.
Where are we going in the next few years, Mary, in terms of, is any of this strawman stuff and sovereignty going to be resolved
Yes.
at the larger level? And are we ever going to see a quantum financial system, or Nisara and Gesara, and a reawakening as opposed to a new world order reset? Like, you've got a lot of inside track in regards to the programs and the families and all of that. So, I'd love to know what your analysis is and what you're hearing.
I was going to show Mary when you had spoke with me and James Rink, and we had started doing. I just got a letter from them wanting more money from me, and I don't even know how to do the whole damn thing. James and I had spoke to you briefly, and you gave us some guidance, and then of
I
course
did give you guys the template to look at. I've redone the template since then. So this one's an amended copy of mine. So I, again, gotta try to structure it. I look like hello, like the guy over the fence. So Divine Creator Canons. So I titled it that because the templates that, again, I got, so the one I got for the Masons, it talked about the trust. Okay, so that's your straw man. And the one I got from the Templars was the same version, but it talked about a treasury. And I know about the treasury because, again, they've been trying to get me to sign off it for like ever. And that's where the usurping family members who probably are like 800 years old have been doing this forever. They just need to find your, when you're born and how you're born. So it was different because they were separated, but the first 4 or 5 pages pretty much said the same thing, but one talked about the trust, one talked about the treasury. So when these Templars, these are high-level priests. I mean, these guys are hundreds of years old. They're not living in the known countries because there's 75 other countries out there. That's where these, real sovereign people go to. They don't live here. This is the circus. They come and play for a little bit and then they leave. And that's where you're seeing all these, elites and all these other people. A lot of them are clones. A lot of them were real and they left. They're like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to come back in 100 years and do it all over again. So these were high-level priests. They got caught up with that King Alexander and the 146 or 8 other kings that they had ascended up into those positions to do this next harvest. So again, those guys are under what you guys know as of Inky and Lel and then their sister. The best movie to describe that would be Jupiter Ascending. So those guys are real.
So this is like Stargate. Those are the Anunnaki Jahami types.
No, they're human. They're not humanoid. They're not us. There's different sequences. Again, human generations have been here for billions of years. These guys, I think, are like 8 billion years old in species wise, generational wise. But they destroyed their galaxies and their worlds. So they didn't know how to balance their own societies. And then when their resources were empty, they went on these occupational missions to find other
Are you
planets,
talking about
resources.
Inky and Enlil, Mary? Is that who you're
Yeah.
referring to? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
talking
they're
about
human.
Inky and
Yeah.
Enlil?
They're not gods. They're humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're gods, but I
Okay.
understand that they're considered the Jahami, also known as the Anunnaki. Is their alien, their ET
No,
species.
those guys are Orin. Anunnaki, I'll have to look. I don't remember. They're one of the species that the Orin actually took over. So they serve them because, like the gal says in the movie, the only resource worth fighting for is time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a quite a. I truly believe that Jupiter Ascending was about me at some point, but I realized that there's many of us that movie would represent. I don't believe that I'm the only one that would. I went through an experience that gave me a lot of information that had me considering that. I'll just say that was a fascinating movie indeed.
Right, but it is a real
But
movie because when I
yeah,
was listening, because I'd watched it like 100 times. I'm like, Jared Rand was the first one that told me to watch it. He's like, "Do you know who you are?" And I'm like, well, I have an idea, but I don't know what he meant at that time. He's like, "Watch these movies." So, and Jupiter Ascending was one of them. So, and it was funny because when I watched it, I almost broke my TV because the reptilians came on there. I mean, talk about super soldier blackout. I grabbed my shoe and I threw it at the TV. And I'm glad I
well,
didn't break
Mary,
it.
yeah. Now that you're saying so, why don't you? Because I think, and I was kind of going back and forth and whether I was going to bring this up during our discussion, but I think that you and we've had talks before, and I'm curious to know, what your thoughts are. I am aware of the soul that I behold. Not only am I
Right.
aware of it, but there are people that are able to read my DNA and my soul and know exactly who I am.
Right. Well, that, like I said, everybody has a
Means that
part.
you and I would have a much deeper connection. And I'm just curious of your thoughts about that. Like, is there anything that you pick up that maybe you're willing to share? Because I want you to know that I absolutely support you. And I think what you're doing is amazing. And I have no issues with anything that you're doing. I think what you're doing is amazing. And if you have the knowledge and the wisdom and the expertise and the gifts and the DNA and all the things required to be able to pull off and really do what you're intending to do, I support you 1000%. And I want you to know that.
Oh, thanks. My job is only
I
to free
mean,
the children of this planet. Because again,
yeah.
I'm not the only one. There's a lot of us. I know that there are 10 female heirs. 3 of them died before me. I didn't wake up until the last one was killed. So, and that's when they came to me. So there's 6 others. If I fail, there's 6 others. We have 6 chances for the next 52 years.
Do you know who the others are?
I don't know the first 2. The third one was the heiress of Pfizer. So Pfizer is municipal. So right, they do the medicine stuff like that. So the Illuminati families that are over the municipal medicines, the seeds of life, blah blah blah. So she was murdered the day before court by her security. So that's why everybody I talked to, oh, you need to get a security team. I was like, no, I'm fine. Those guys are paid by the other guys, right? So the last thing you want to
Yeah.
do is hire somebody that can have the potential to kill you. So yeah, I don't remember the names of the other 2. I don't even know who they are. I don't know the other 6, but I do know, according to King Alex's paperwork, they have secured the other heirs, and I'm the only one that's obnoxiously not catchable. So
What's your timeline for the next, say, 10 years in terms of disclosure and this economic reform, especially, or the I understand that the U.S. corporation has been declared bankrupt, and so does that mean now we're regaining the sovereignty of the U.S. Republic and the restoration of the Constitutional Republic?
It just seems so overwhelming. Yeah, it seems so overwhelming. All the paperwork and everything that you have to do to really emancipate yourself from all the contracts. We know
and
reptilians and Dracos, they thrive on contract. Everything is about a contract. And
well, even your covenant to creator to ascend is a contract. But and I kind of freaked out too. So when I got these 2 templates, and they didn't know I had the Mason one, right? So I looked it over. The bat phone was available because these people have different phone numbers than what we have. The 10-digit, they have like a 6-digit. So I called the bat phone because that's what it looks like. Or the numbers look like. And again, you're calling a country that doesn't even exist. So talking to these people, it was 2 older men. You could tell they were older. There's no visual, it's just voice. But their energy, it's a fight. Every time I talked to them or did talk to them, it was ugly. The way I talk now is it's serene, it's happy, I'm laughing. But talking to those guys, I'm like, you need to just effing die already, right? So it's awful. There's so much hate comes out of me. But because I know what they've done, I can feel their negativity. I know their demons behind them. But it's not up to me who creator chooses to use to fix this, right? The bad people have to fix what they've done. So whatever they did with creator to try to save their souls, I had to trust that he knew what he was doing. So I had to deal with these people. And so I told him, I was like, look, I got another document just like this one, but it talks about the trust. And one of them was like, no, you can just get rid of that. You just need your titles and your treasury. And I was like, no, you didn't come to me because you thought I was stupid. You came to me because you knew that I was gonna be able to do this. So I know that the trust is the straw man, and the treasury is my royal titles, my God-given inheritance. I'm like, so why don't you tell me that backstory? So they did, and it comes down to 60 to 100 years ago, the Illuminati were afraid of this ascension because they were going to lose all power. We know this, and their rule was going to be done. So they were trying to stop it the best they could. So they took what was called the Book of Life, and they separated it and called it the Master Exit. Okay, but the first 4 to 5 pages, giving your oath back to the Creator, was kind of mixed in, and they changed from 1 to your trust, so you can get your straw man, and the Masons and the Jesuits control that one. And that's what everybody out here is doing, is trying to get their credits and get their birth certificate back. But that's a bad thing to do. I mean, it's good, but it's bad, because when you take yourself out of the system, you no longer have a constitution to protect you. You are no longer in the system, and this is where the Hunger Games come in, because you don't exist. Okay, so for the Illuminati, they're going to hunt you down because now you don't exist, and you're going to be in that movie where that chick or that guy was panicking, trying to get law enforcement to help him because he's being hunted. And they're like, "What's your name?" And he's giving them their name. He's not in the system. Goes to the hospital, tries to get them to protect him. He's not in the system. They can't do anything.
So then when my daughter, one and only daughter,
something real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'll be
so
right
when my
back,
daughter
guys.
was recently born, sure, Ida. When my daughter was recently born, and they asked me, "Do you want to have her get a social security number or not?" I really paused. I was like, "Well, it's like I don't want her to be in the system, but then do I screw her if like she can't get a driver's license and all this stuff because?" And so, like, did I make the right choice or the wrong choice by saying, "Yeah, sure, fine, give her a social security number"?
And that's okay, because at first I was the same way. I even saved text messages to my ex-husband. I want to get my kids out of the system. I don't want them to be harvested. But I didn't think about it from an Illuminati standpoint. You are hunted at that point because you are nobody. You're an illegal immigrant running around in the country. If you get arrested, they can do whatever they want with you because you don't exist. Nobody can protect you. Nobody knows who you are. You're gone.
So from a legal right standpoint,
Yes.
it's better to have some kind of affiliation.
Right.
so that they recognize that authority.
So when they told me you want to be in the system to get out of the system, I had to step back and think about that. Okay, so I got to be in the system. We know that the current constitution only protects what? The corporation, right? So if you get out of the corporation, where's your protection? Oh, I'm sovereign. I'm out here. I'm going to go live in the woods. Well, you can't live in the woods because you don't actually have your certificate of freedom. Where's your certificate of freedom? Who is that coming from? So all those groups that we were all in, or I was all in, it all came down to I got the master exit. They were getting ready to give me that certificate, but that's not a good certificate. They give you $100 million, which sounds amazing, right? What could you do with $100 million? But it's only in credits. Okay, you can't cash it out. You can buy stuff with it. It's very restrictive. And if you take any of that money and try to come after them or do something they don't want you to do, guess what they do? They cut it
Take it away.
off. They smack you down. They take away your housing, anything you bought with it, because it really belongs to them.
So it's no good. So they're offering a raw deal. So how do we get the real deal? And then is that coming from a top down level? Is in like, are
Well,
we going to
that's
see?
where you got to get your treasury. So I did call those Templars back, and I said, okay, and then you got to remember the payment for lading. That's why I have to charge for just to have the knowledge. But you don't have to, because the knowledge is what you want, but they have a payment for lading, right? You got to pay the ferryman. If you don't pay the ferryman right, they're going to drop you off into the soul pit, right? And then you're going to get attacked by all these demons. So again, this is just their way of doing it. God gave them the exit, and he allowed them to test us, because he doesn't want another Metatron coming up and trying to take him over, right? We all learned a lesson. Even he learned a lesson with our freedom. So, but you have to work for your freedom. Sucks, but you have to do it. So with the 2 books, I said, look, I'll do this, but here's my payment. So when they say we're going to set you free, you're going to get your riches, you're going to get your freedom, you have to offer a payment too. If not, they can come back like Rumpelstiltskin and take your firstborn. Okay?
What
So
kind
there's
of payment?
I missed stuff. I'll go back and watch it.
What kind
I
of
missed
payment would you have to offer?
It's just whatever you want. You say, I'll do this for
I'm
you,
sorry.
but this is what I want in return. I want to put these 2 templates back together as the one book. And one guy went off the handle. He called me every word that was so derogatory. He's like, I'm going to kill you, you dumb blah, blah, blah. And the
Because why?
other guy's laughing.
What happens at the point where you take the 2 templates and merge them together? I don't understand the significance of that.
It turns into the book of life. So therefore, you're in the book of the living, not the book of the dead.
And then now you're off their accounting, and now they can't use.
They have to restore your accounting. They have to give you back 100% of your estates from the date they stamped your birth certificate.
So what does that look like
Because
for like? So that means like you get now you, instead of getting $100 million in credits, now you get actually $100 million in property. What?
no, you get your whole royal standing. You get 29,000 inheritances you didn't get since they did this.
Like what's an inherited? Like for me, for example,
Treasure, you get a God-given treasury. So let's say you're a warrior, right? And you're going to wear the armor of God. You know how they show it on the Avengers movies? They hit a button and all of a sudden here comes the shield of protection. That's in your treasury, whatever it was. If you were a doctor, a healer, anything, you got the gold that is not from here, it's from Hanova, because that's where heaven is. So it's a different type of gold. The gold that came from the Vatican that Trump took out, that's not from here. That's not our gold. Okay, that is the gold from Hanova. And that goes to you. Gems, jewels, like everything. All this stuff. The reason we praise Queen Elizabeth's treasury, because she was the last one to get her treasury.
so when do the rest of us get our treasuries? Like when does that happen here on Earth in real time?
When we do the Book of Life. So
we have to
the
do
master
everything
exit.
that Mary has done ourselves.
So basically, you're in the process of this. You're almost completed.
Yes.
So basically, when you're completed it, you're going to get to basically have like all these treasures and money.
Yep.
Presumably.
Yeah. And that's
And then
kind of the fight that's happening federal right now, because I've already sent it in. Janet Yellen is holding my estates. I don't know if you guys knew that she got shot up by somebody. at her house because they've got my estates. They just don't want to give it back.
Wow. And
Who
so
is
are
that,
you like the
Janet?
first one to
Who is
achieve this?
Uh, in 60 to 100 years, yes. I'm the first
Okay,
one
so
to
once you
achieve it.
achieve it, you're going to be kind of like the gold standard, or you're going to be the 100th monkey who is able, like, okay, everyone, now this is how you do it, and then presumably that will open it up the floodgates for everyone, for all of us to do this as well.
Yeah, I'm the catalyst. I have 15 other people that have done it to a certain point. But once mine's accepted, but see, there had to be, it's a treaty. Okay, let me show you the second page. You, in our era right now, because the older ones weren't a treaty, right? Our world is made on treaties. And this is what the Native Americans are running around trying to do. This is what, you know, a lot of these programs are trying to do. I need a treaty, I need a treaty, I need a treaty. So I made the Book of Life, or the Master Exit, a treaty of universal peace. Let me see if you can see that.
Okay.
Because, and the reason,
I'm just wondering, how are we going to get this information to all the people once you've, I mean, it's going to be years for people doing, you know, collecting and doing.
At the point where Mary gets $100 million in jewels and all this stuff, there's going to be floodgates. It's not going to be an issue. It's the proof will be in the pudding, and really
right.
it's
and it's
you know,
not about, for me, it's not about the money.
How much fight back, how much resistance, or you know, how difficult will they make it once she's done it? They're not going to want everybody collecting what belongs to them.
I mean,
in the
who
damn
knows?
person.
They're fighting Mary. First, we got to get one through.
Right.
Let's see if we can get one.
Well,
so let's put it this way. Here's a timeline that I can kind of give to you. So again, was approached in April 2023 with this. It took me 6 months, and the payment for lading, as I told them, I was like, I'll do this, because all they wanted was for me to go after these kings, right? And because they were all poisoned, and they said they were taking the world's population down to 50,000 people when it was supposed to be 500 million, and that's what was written in the guide stones, right? Once it's written in stone, it's done, right? Blah blah blah. That's what the kings were, the ones that blew up the guide stones, not the white hats or the black hats. It was these kings. So when they did that, they broke the treaty with that 500 million people. So the reset of the world was devastated. So you cannot take the planet to 50,000 people. It can't. The energy will not support. The world will blow up. There's a whole catastrophic nonsense behind it. And these kings just aren't thinking, because they're all inbred. God knows who they are, what they're mixed with. They're and you know, they can call me if they have a problem with me talking. But anyways,
yeah, Parmalov looks, he looks inbred. I mean, he acts and sounds inbred from what I've heard of the guy.
right. You should see the people he has on there now.
A lot of them do.
Yeah. So
I was going to show you this, Mary, but I'll wait till you're finished, because I've done some things, but I'll wait. Yeah.
So
I'll wait.
Where was I? Oh, so these kings, with only 50,000 people, and you have, like, let's say 146. I can't remember if it's 46 or 48. If you have 146 kings, that gives each king about little over 100 people, right? So that would be ideal to do a reset, right? You only need about 100 people to do a reset, but that eliminates who? That eliminates the Illuminati, the Templars, you know, all these people who were promised to be, you know, part of the surviving reset. Okay, now they're no longer needed, so we don't need these guys. So that's what these kings are taking out all of the Illuminati, all the Templars, all the Masons, and everybody else along with us. It's a whole big shit show war, and that's what nobody can see. And I didn't even know it
Who's taking out the kings? Who's fighting it?
taking out. Oh, me.
I mean, so are you saying Alexander Parmalov is one of these kings?
Yeah, he's the head. He has the monetary one system.
So he's the head, because what I've been told is that there's humanity on Earth as a hierarchy of humans who are really got the elite puppets who are under the Anunnaki, who are then under the former Draco Empire. And then what I've been told is that the Anunnaki have basically forfeited their rulership of Earth, and now it's reverting to the Draconians. That's what I heard.
No, it has to stay with the Noids. Draconians need to go back to the Delta Quadrant. They don't belong here. And that was what I did. So on part of the timeline, after I got my book done, I had to file it in World Court, send a copy to the military. The military accepted it as me coming back. So I'm now listed in the military as the Office of Mary Beaver. So I'm doing something with that right now. But after that, I was waiting, and then I was told, oh, I have to challenge these kings, and they have 60 days. All of them had 60 days to counteract me. That was done in August of last year. Nobody counteracted it. Nobody denied it. Nobody can come forward and say, I have a claim above her, because my claim goes back 75,000 years. Theirs only goes back 7,500 years. So nobody has a higher claim than me, because it goes by bloodline, and my family's bloodline has been here recorded 75,000 years. Probably longer, but that's what the Templars have. So and it's the gene sequence that drops through. They call it the Grail line. So I have God and angelic DNA in my bloodline, just like a lot of us do. Mine just happens to be a little bit higher, but the three girls that were before me had a higher amount. So I wasn't the first, but hopefully I can be the last and we can get this going. So far,
I do know that. So Mary, real quick. So just for clarity, you are saying that you are the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Am I correct in saying that?
Jesus 12, yeah. Okay. I'm the only one. Jesus 12 had,
because there's so many. I've had a few. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Jesus 12 had 7 other wives.
Okay.
But I'm the only strand from Mary Magdalene and Jesus 12.
Okay, so then I have another question for you, because you and I have talked, and I have had, not that I need anybody else to approve or believe for me to know what I know, but I've had Simon Parks confirm exactly who I am. 1, right. I've met with Sasha Stone. 2, right. He knows exactly who I am. So I'm just wondering, how does that work? Meaning,
it's an energy. It's all energy. So if you have a particular energy, everybody on the planet has Mary Magdalene DNA and Jesus DNA, because in the time of Christ, in that era, the DNA sequence was only 2 and 5. It was 2-dimensional. It doesn't mean we were flat like cardboard. It just means conscious-wise we were 2D. And God sent down his sons, not just the one. I mean, we can't limit Creator. If he wants to have 52 kids on this planet to try to accomplish one thing, he's going to do it, right? Just like my father had 36 children, and he said he was building an army against the military, and it looks like only one of them's doing it, right? So you can't limit the Almighty. He had many sons on this planet. Mary Magdalene was one of many also, but she came from creation. She was the high priestess of the planet who held the keys to the kingdom on earth. So when you go into the Bible says Jesus gave Peter the keys to the kingdom of heaven on earth. What does that mean? Are those real keys? No, it's a DNA. So who did he hand over to Peter to imprison? Oh, it's because sorry, they don't want me to tell you. So the thing is everybody comes from Jesus, because everybody right now is a 9 and 12 strand DNA.
You're saying everybody on the planet is running off 9 and 12 strands of DNA? Is that what you're saying? I can't. You're breaking up. I'm sorry. You keep freezing.
Does that make sense?
No, I didn't hear you, Mary. You broke up. You're frozen.
Did I freeze?
You're free. Yes. It gets going like slow motion. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, it just
Can you
starts
see me
freezing.
now?
Well, I can
We can
see
hear
you on the
you.
screen, but you're frozen.
You're frozen, but we can hear you. Maybe you might want to leave and come back to the stream. I might have. It might be
Yeah.
just lagging or something. Yeah, she'll come right back.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for Mary to come back, Ida, do we have a board meeting coming up for our
We do
foundation?
at 4:00. We do.
Which is in 15
So I'm
minutes.
going to send a message to Rosie. Said she was going to be a little bit late anyways.
Yeah. So
and
then
I'll let
maybe
Peter know. We'll probably start a little later.
Let's move it back an hour then.
Okay, to 5.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And then I know if the audience has any questions for Mary, maybe we'll probably run for another 15 minutes of this live stream, Ida.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
The technical difficulties suck, but it's Mary's sharing a lot of great information with us, so I'm not surprised.
Yes, she is.
Hi, Mary.
Can you hear us?
Hi, is that better?
Okay, much better.
Yeah.
Okay, so that might be something I have to say in person because it's going to be one of those difficult things. They're going to shut you guys down if I talk about that. So not, Ada, not discrediting anybody's DNA because everybody has a certain DNA. It's an energy sequence. So you might be one of the 6 heirs if I die. You know what I mean? Nobody knows until they wake you up. But the heavens have told me everybody has to wake up, everybody has to be free, even the bad guys, even the Luciferians, the Satanists, all of them have to be free. The reason being is because they have to go home. And so on one of my timelines, after I sent my book to Trump, because at the time he was the chief and commander, not the president, he's the one that sets you free. So one of your books will go to him as the payment for lading. And so he has it. I don't know what they're doing with it right now, but from what it looks like, they're doing some interesting stuff. But I got a phone call from an Air Force general, and we talked. And he had this gruff voice, like, "What do you want? I've got your paperwork. I've read it over. What do you want?" But those are kind of like trick words, right? They want you to say something different than what you've turned in. So we got to the point where he was getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated because I just kept saying, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Look, you're like the 4th demand letter I got, this week." And that was in April of 2024. And kind of funny how they fall in the same month. And he started to say something else, and I was like, "Look, sir, I'm going to stop you right there. I didn't give you a demand letter. I gave you an offer." And he was like, "Oh, you did?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Here's my offer." The thing is I don't know who those other 3 people were that sent this man a demand letter. He works under Trump. He's part of the occupation, and he's part of the 500 whatever. Um, so I said, "Look, I'm not here to demand anything from anybody. But we have a bunch of invader races. We have an occupation government that's over us, and basically the heavens said you guys have to go. But it doesn't mean you don't have somewhere to go, because all these species are here because they feel they have nowhere to go. Their worlds were destroyed. Their planets, their galaxies were all destroyed in that celestial war that we all hear about. Okay. So I told him, I was like, "But you can't tell me after a billion years or a trillion years of occupational whatever that you don't think that your worlds and your galaxies and your quadrants haven't recovered." I was like, "They have. Creation has let it be known that the celestial gates are open. It's not going to take you without a million years to get home, but you all have to leave." The thing is they've done a couple of um, awakenings, and the people that wake up are so angry because of what they've been put through. They want revenge, right? They're going to go kill all these people. But you have to understand why they did it. And nobody knows that. They don't wake you up to why they did it because there's no two-way understanding of why you want to hurt somebody else. The thing is they have control of your mind. So you've got to give, they got to give, somebody's got to give, right? You've got to let that go, or they're never going to let us go. They will hike us all up in ships and take us to the other, prison planets. This one's been eradicated. It's done, but they still have the right to take you if you go with them willingly.
I'm
So
not
the
Right,
going
best way
with
to
you.
but
do
there's
it,
nothing
I have
stopping us from
I
rising up
have
and
an
hunting down the
absolute
Illuminati,
connection. Yeah.
right? Like,
I
what
would
stops us
say
from
let
rising up
their
and,
let
and hunting them all down? Because, like, some people would say that's justice. I mean, if these people abused their privileges, they've committed crimes against humanity, particularly
correct,
children, what's wrong with,
right.
with hanging them? What's wrong with that? That's what they deserve.
They're more afraid of what's going to happen with their soul. They could let you have their bodies. You can do what you want with them. They
Oh
know how
yeah,
to
I mean,
jump in
I've
with your
got no,
body.
I'm not in charge of their soul. I just want to end their body here. They're end them here,
Well,
for
also
just.
not to
Right.
allow them to
Well,
reincarnate back onto
those
this planet
That's
after
up to
we are.
source. The source will
Yeah.
no,
figure
no,
that out. That's
no.
not up to me.
No, it's not going to be that way. They're in judgment. They're all panicking. Everybody's in judgment right now. Those guys are in final judgment. Final judgment means yes, you will have the but let the military do it. Um, their souls have to go with their demons and everybody else. Final judgment means they go to the court of God. All the children's souls since Baal came to this earth and did the sacrifices, those guys were set free. They're no longer stuck here. That's why you see people aging. They're not living off of the lives of the souls they took. Those souls are all in the court of God. They're going to be judged by the people that they hurt. So they have to fix it. So that's what I'm saying. There was a soul contract put against all of them, and they're finding it out. They weren't told. They knew something happened, but they weren't told that this final judgment was put upon them until they started dying and they weren't coming back into the next body, right? And their demons were going with them. So now all of these people are panicked. They're doing
They
what they
must be
can to save
really
their soul.
panicking because they've held
Yes.
off karma for multiple lifetimes over thousands of
They've
years.
been, they,
And they
yeah.
can't right now. So
Mary, let me ask you a
it's
quick, because Brian was talking about ending, and I would love to have you come back, by the way, so we can have more.
And
I
now
would
that
love.
Mary's here, we can go longer. I mean, yeah, I don't want to cut it off
Okay.
now that Mary's here.
Well, okay. So we have a board meeting for the conference that I just changed again
An hour from
to
now, an hour and a half from
yeah, an
now.
hour from now, so we had more
right.
time with you.
Oh
But
gosh.
I think after your conference would be a great time to have you come back on, so that some of the things that you're sharing at the conference, there may be people. Check out the link that Brian posted, and it's also on the Facebook where I posted the link to Mary's conference. Check it out. Go buy a ticket. It's $15. Show some support. She's doing amazing things, and we need to support her. So I'm asking everybody to go and buy a ticket, share it out, and then have you come back after the conference so that we can discuss some of the things that you shared, like artifacts and the books and so forth, and maybe give some guidance to people that weren't there in person. They'd probably love to hear more from you. I definitely would like to have
And
you come
Mary,
back.
I was going
Brian
to
and I
ask,
will have you back when you're done with your conference.
are you able to do scans,
But
Mary? Like,
Scans you mean on people?
yeah,
No, I
like,
can only
like,
see your soul.
okay, so you're able to soul scan people.
Yes. Well, and that's the problem is the soul is innocent. So I even with the bad guys, I see so when I see the souls, they're all trapped, okay? Your soul is trapped. And it looks like a little child in a celestial cage. So depending on it's I see the good in everybody because I can see the soul. The body is what sins. You are not a human having a soul experience. You're a
For your
soul
soul.
having a human experience. So when you came down here, you didn't anticipate being put in a cage. They didn't tell you that when you did your soul contract, right? So you're in this celestial cage in this ship. You know the movie with Will Smith. What is it?
Men in Black.
Oh, Men in Black. Yeah, that little guy, the little guy in the head. That's your soul's this little tiny thing trapped in your heart because your heart is crystalline and there's a soul cage. That's why when they sacrifice you, they do it through the heart because they're hitting your soul. Um, and then they drain it to get the crystalline out of it. So, anyways, not to get into the gross stuff, but
You
I
are
see
making
your
me think of
soul.
so much stuff right now when you say that. But
Right.
anyways,
So, imagine those kids that are put in the cages. When I see somebody and their soul is hidden like really far in the back of that cage and they're all just bundled up like just holding themselves, those are the hardest ones to reach because they let those demons in and those demons like beat them down into that corner of that cage. The ones that have a pool to do the book of life, the master exit, however you guys want to do it, they want that salvation. They're in that cage and they have their arm reaching out to you, right? They're saying, "Pull me out." You're the angel of mercy. I need to get out of here. I can't pull them out.
It's cutting out, Mary. Now at the point where they're reaching their
I
hand out to you through
can
the
only give
bars,
you guys
how come you can't pull them out?
the tools to do it for yourself, and then you can pull yourself out.
Okay, so it's about giving yourself having the tools yourself to get out of the cage yourself instead of
Does
having
that
to
make
rely on
sense?
someone to get you out. You broke up a bit there, Mary. What I got from it was that you have to empower yourself by putting together your own book to get out of the cage instead of relying on someone to come along and pull you out.
Yes.
Interesting.
Mary, you
And
mentioned
you
on Robert Khalil's podcast that Jesus is a child in America. Do you want to elaborate on that? I'm curious to hear where'd you get that information from and how that came about.
Oh, the Illuminati told me.
That Jesus is in a child's body here in America. You keep freezing. Sorry. Are you there?
That's
Mary,
okay.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry.
they're looking for him. Yeah, I can hear you.
but there were multiple Yeshuas or Jesuses, right? So he could be like Jesus number 7 reincarnated, and so in a way the Illuminati they're not lying, but they could be misleading.
The one they're looking for is Jesus 17.
Right. So there's a particular one they're looking for. But it's
Correct.
not that's not quote unquote the Jesus or the Yeshua.
Yeshua and Jesus
Nope,
are
that's
two
him.
different beings, Brian. They're not the same person.
Yeah, when there are multiple and then there are masqueraders and
No, they're the
actors.
same. Right. So again, it's an energy. They
I
have
I have a different, yeah. Until I understand it differently, I
no,
don't
and that's fine.
agree with that. Yeah.
Right. So it's an energy sequence. Again, the name Mary can be Madonna, Anna, Sophia. It just depends on the language. As in the interpretation of the name Mary, but it comes down to the energy of Ninhursag, right? So the the name Jesus is an energy. Okay, it doesn't mean that's the name of that person. That kid right now has a different name. He doesn't know he's Jesus.
So you're
Okay, that's
talking
why the
about the
monks are
Christ energy,
here.
really, rather than the word Jesus. Are you talking about the Christ
Right, because
energy? Yeah.
the Christ energy. And but okay, we can't assume that there's going to be some guy floating down as the all almighty in front of us because that's the wrong way of doing it. They can't ascend back in here. Once you ascend out, you're out. You're gone. Bye. You don't get to come back. unless you really have to, and it's usually a doom and gloom thing. I wouldn't ask that Jesus to come back down here, because it ain't in a good way, right? The gods don't come down here unless it's
Well,
really bad.
yeah.
They're not allowed to. That's just the rules, okay? I know what other gods are telling you guys. I get it, but this is part of you waking up, is understanding the rules. There are false gods here, and they are trying to manipulate everybody using the right information. If I was a narcissist female serial killer, I'm going to bring you in the best way I know how, and I'm going to kill you, okay? That's what these false gods are. They are the best, and they've been doing it for thousands and millions of years. And they know how we work. They know how to play on our heartstrings. They know how to play on our spiritual. And I'm not going to talk about that program with the whole religion and the creator. There is an MK Ultra program that really plays on that, and everybody will resonate with it. Everybody,
The
even
whole
somebody who doesn't even believe in
Judeo-Christian
all that.
sinning thing. The whole
No, it's
Judeo-Christian
just the
thing, or
program.
the program. Like,
Yeah, it's hard to go into without talking about it, but it is an MK Ultra programming, and that's the biggest one that they put in us. And everybody will resonate, because it does describe each program under religion, every single one. Doesn't matter if you don't believe in none of it. It has a program for that.
Sure. Well, I've never,
But
I after having my own awakening and becoming aware of many things, and meeting up or having discussions with some people, and I don't believe that Jesus is our Lord and Savior. I don't believe that. And that's just my personal, and I believe that it was always the divine feminine. I don't ever think it was the masculine that was sacrificed. It has always been the divine feminine. And there's a bigger reason for that, in which I won't get into. It's a long,
well, it's a balance. You have to believe in both, or you'll never get out, because it's a two-party system. It's masculine and feminine.
well, I
If you don't believe
understand
in
that.
Jesus,
I'm
then you don't
saying,
believe
but
in
they,
Mary.
the story that we've been given, that Jesus was hung on a cross, I don't believe that's the truth. And as a matter
Well,
of
there
fact,
was one, but it wasn't the one you think.
it wasn't. Well, I don't think it was Jesus at all. I think there was somebody put in his
No,
place.
it was an apostle. It was the loyalist apostle they don't tell you about in the book. He took his place. That was the sacrifice.
Sure.
Because a human came up and said, I will take the place of the Son of God. Don't take him, take me.
Well, when you say
I will
Son
pay
of
his
God, I
way.
mean, are you talking about the Draco reptilian people are calling Anu? Because I know that the person that I've shared with you about, and I'm not going to mention names here, is a Draco reptilian, because I have full memory. And he knows I know that. And when I met him, he was
I'm not
fully
talking
aware.
about the
Yeah.
Dracos.
Yeah. We're talking,
No, I'm not
well, the
talking about
Bible,
Dracos.
I mean, the Bible, God in the Bible is a Draco reptilian.
that's New Testament.
Sure.
In the Old Testament, Yahweh, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
but
a
not the New
Draco
Testament.
reptilian, Anu, who had two sons. We can call, it goes down. So the father becomes the son, especially in the Masons. We understand that, and also that this, you call it a curse, call it what you want, but unless that's been changed, and I'm open to hearing what you have to say. Our fathers, so we'll call it sins, have been passed down to the children, that we have to work that out until we do some contract, any, contract revocation, whatever it is, until you become
Okay, so
self-actual.
Ada, let me ask you something.
It's
Why are you
Ida,
being attacked?
Mary. My name's Ida. The A is
Sorry,
silent.
Ida.
No, that's
Sorry.
okay. A lot of
I
people
keep
do it, but
forgetting.
it's okay.
Why do you think you're being attacked? I mean, what is so important about
Oh, I
you?
don't feel like I'm being attacked anymore.
But
I
you
don't feel like I'm being. I was told to. I mean, my first interview I
Yes,
did with
but
James Reed,
why?
because of the soul I behold. in my DNA.
Okay, but what's
and
so important about it?
my gifts. Well, I was told
What's
that I
so
was being
important about
attacked
it?
because
Why are 200 alien species attacking any of us?
I'm a
if we're
Pleiadian.
no
I
no if
started
we're
out
junk
Lyra.
right, but if
I'm
we're
sorry.
junk DNA, why are we being attacked? Who wants trash? Who fights for trash except for
Well, no, I
panda
get
bears?
that. I understand. Sure.
Okay. So, in the order of the universe, this is where you guys are not getting the right information. You have to know the difference between the two gods. So, again, don't give those other gods that much credit. You're higher than them. All these aliens that come down here and they're doing all this bad stuff, they are trillions of generations from the original creator. That's why they fight with them. That's why Lucifer fought with us, because we are second born. Jesus, this the energy sequence of Jesus, energy, remember it's energy, was given to a son down here, multiple sons, in order of 1 through, at that time, 12. Jesus 12 being the highest. Okay, he ascended. He's up there. He's got a throne next to the Creator and the Queen of Heaven, the one and only, and in order. This is our order. We're not junk. Okay, we're junk to them because they're pissed off. It goes Queen of Heaven, Creator, Jesus 12, and then us. Okay, we are right there with the Titans.
Well, you spoke of Jesus number 9 before. So where's that person now?
Jesus 9 is number 9. So he's still a son of God, but he is a,
well,
he's
we're all
a
sons
gene.
of God, but is God a Draco reptilian? I guess Mary is what I'm trying.
Ida, you're not listening. These aliens are a trillion-year generation from us. We are in the throne room of Creator. Okay? Does that make sense? These aliens are not. That's why they're gene manipulating us. That's why they're taking our genes. They don't want to spend 84 billion lifetimes to get here. They want to cheat. They want to come in here because we've already done it. That's what's so important about your soul. You've already done that 84 billion life term in the metaverse, experiencing everything. And those younger souls of these other aliens, I don't care who they are, they could be the Anunnaki, they could be the Draco. They are trillions of years under that bloodline. And they have to, you go all the way down and then you come all the way back up. That's what the 0 point is. When you're born at the top, you go down and experience the bottom, get back to the 0 point energy, and you work your way back up. That's the double triangle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
We made it. When you get here and you're born in this body, this is the prize. Because you now have the ability to become a rightful God, not a God that was spoken into words. You're important. They want you because you can now become a God, and they can't. They have to pretend to be a God. They're pretenders. They're actors.
I love you, Mary. I appreciate you saying that. And when I say I love you, I do. I want you to succeed, and I support you wholeheartedly what you're doing.
I want all of us to succeed.
I absolutely want all of us to succeed, but I'm speaking to you right now, and I just want to be very direct and forthcoming in saying that. I want you to know that you are loved and supported.
Well, Mary, do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think in the next 5 years we'll have disclosure?
I'm kind of hoping this year will be the final disclosure, because the book of, or not the book, the history books of the Looking Glass is going to show you that. Okay, so we're not overpopulated. Our planet right now can hold 20 billion people comfortably.
Yeah, if you do it right, sure, absolutely.
Correct. So the overpopulation actually starts in 2038, and that's a program after they get us all in those camps. So that's when the overpopulation, they're pumping
But that's
babies
not
out
going
of
to
us
happen
like
in this
crazy.
timeline. That's off for this timeline, right?
Right, but people have to realize what was going to be
Yeah.
and how you can get out of that, because they can, again, these aliens can still take you. You're a slave. You belong to them. Everybody does. If you don't get out, they're giving all creators right now, all of them, because they're the creator gods over the planet are in trouble because they didn't stop what was happening, and it actually was going to devastate the future timelines. That's why the future came to the past, to try to stop it, because it got too out of hand. We are the uterus of creation. This planet is the metaverse. It's what the whole metaverse. Oh, I know. The movie, The Never-Ending Story, right? They're at the end and there's this little tiny light, right? And she's like, you just got to give it a name, kind of thing. We're that little light that the whole metaverse relies on.
So it's
If
like where
we
the universe is
die,
going
the
to be
metaverse
So
is
that's
reborn.
why
gone.
this year, Brian, we need to get Mary out to the conference. If this year is, if she's suggesting, which I will do some things to, I mean, let this year be it. Bring Mary on so we can have a fantastic conference this year and let
Well,
let it be
we'll
known
make sure to follow
if
up
we
with
come together
Mary.
and collectively. And
Yeah.
yeah.
No, we'll follow
And
up.
I'll
I'm trying
call
to.
you, Mary. We can talk about it and get some info. I want to get some information, and then we can meet with Brian off camera and
Yeah.
see if we can make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're
Yeah.
serious about coming over.
I mean, I love for disclosure to be this year as well. We're working for it. I mean, for me, full disclosure includes military, tribunals. It's televised worldwide. People are meeting their fates. And then they release the whatever funds and resources and hidden technologies that they've been keeping from us this whole time.
Right.
Sure.
And I'm going to talk about that. So the next one, I was going to have it in LA, but since it's on fire, we might just move it to Vegas. But that I was going to bring out the names of the real medical stuff. And I have a lot of doctors that I know that are into the holistic and whatnot. So each tour has something from the deep space program to give you guys so that you guys can start bringing all that out and not be stuck on that hamster wheel of saying the same thing in a different way. Because that's what the deep space told me. And I was like, again, I'm going to need that protection, because you've got these guys up here that are like, yeah, we're not ready for that. But then all of you are, but you're all safe. And I got to make sure I'm safe, because, I have to guard my children also. So
Well, what do they
they're
think of the
all in
movement?
agreement.
What do they think of the full disclosure movement and what we're all doing down here?
It's fine. You guys have to do things the right way. I recommend you getting a TWIC card, because that allows you to move through maritime law.
It's called
And
a quick card.
TWIC,
A quick card.
TWIC. It's like
TWIC.
it's a 5-star passport that allows you to move through maritime law. So that way you can't be detained, arrested, all the other stuff, and you just wear it around your neck. It's a federal badge. Don't give it to anybody. They can't kidnap you.
How would, I mean, are you going to be sharing in
Yeah,
your
how did you
conference?
get that? Did you print that up yourself, or did you get that through an agency?
Oh no, they sent it to me. It took them 90 days to send me mine, because they had to send mine to an outside government source. That was so funny. So
I
I'm
definitely
like,
want
tell me
one.
you
You
sent
have
it
to
to
have a.
Area 51 without telling me
Do you have to
sent
have
it
a
to Area
passport
51.
already?
Right,
In order?
like that could have gone to Area 51, is what you're saying? Because Area 51 is part of this like no country system, or what?
No, you have to have a black passport to get on Area 51.
Because I'm talking to other people right now, and apparently they're saying that if and when they make it to Area 51, like very interesting things happen. Like they get kind of like installed, and they get granted certain things that belong to them, and then they could take it from there. But first they got to get to Area 51. But like you can't just walk
Right.
up to Area 51. Apparently you need some kind of special pass or access. And here you are talking about a black passport.
Yeah, I'm going to get mine in a couple months. So we'll be going.
Really?
I've already
Wow.
talked to the colonel.
Well, we definitely have some other conversations to have offline, because there's some people I might need to introduce you to. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it all starts with the Book of Life, or the Master. Right now, it's called the Master Exit because the deep sleepers don't want to associate anything with religion, which is fine. It's not really religion. It's your divinity, and that's really what it should be called, is your divine path, your journey. So the Master Exit turns into your Book of Life. You get your 1,000 years back. You get your full health and grace. You can leave the planet, or you can choose to stay and be part of the restoration. Um, a lot of people are going to want to leave because it's not just our planet that needs restoration. There are other planets and other galaxies. Everybody gets to go home except for those that have committed the worst crimes. They will be executed. They will be going to final judgment. But all the other races get to go. If they participated in that stuff, it was because they became yes men and they were trying to save themselves and their families. So again, it's not your choice. It's not my choice. This is creators. This is the owner of the world's decision, and that's what he said. They have to go home and they have to experience those 48 billion lives in order to get here in this body. They can no longer steal it from us or attempt to steal it from us.
So, real quick before we hang up, and thank you for sharing that, Mary. And we definitely have to have another because there's so much to talk about. But
Right.
Simon Parks did an interview with on Project Avalon. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I'll be glad to send it to you, where he was asked about Jesus, and he said that Jesus was
I know about Project Avalon. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you, Mary.
Go ahead.
She said she knows about Project Avalon.
There's the delay. Go ahead.
Yeah,
You said that you know about
send the
Project
video
Avalon?
to you.
Yeah.
But
Did you have anything to say about it?
I mean, there's a lot of projects. I'll come out with more projects that you got to know where.
I'm talking about a YouTube channel called Project Avalon that Simon Parks was interviewed on. That's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
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 Right.
But he was asked about Jesus. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
He was asked about Jesus, and it was said that they had to make a creation of the same basically, he was asked if Mary Magdalene's on the planet, and he said yes. And then also he mentions that Adam and Eve, the Adam, his birthday is 9/7, the Eve is 8/7 for the divine masculine and divine feminine. From the Anunnaki perspective, I'm assuming, which is interesting because his birthday is 9/7, mine's 8/7. But he says on there that Mary Magdalene was chosen to bear a hybrid. So, which I am assuming was Enki, since Enki was part Pleiadian, part reptilian. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about that. Like,
Mary Magdalene's story is very sad. And it actually made me not want to help humanity.
I'm sorry?
I said Mary Magdalene's story.
I'm sorry, Mary. I didn't.
It's sad.
You break up every time we talk about this.
She said that Mary Magdalene's story is very sad, and it almost made her not want to help humanity.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely have to have another talk offline because, yeah, I could share some things too, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Okay, so I think this has been a great show. Mary, is there anything else that you want to share before we end this podcast? And I hope that I can get you to commit to come back on after your conference. Are you willing to come back on the show with me and Brian?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, wonderful. And Brian, did you have any last questions you wanted to ask Mary? Where can people find you first off? Now, I have added all your, I don't mean to cut you off. We have a meeting coming up and we're going to have a little break.
No, that's fine. I know we talk for days. Yeah. That's why it's a 6-hour disclosure.
yeah, right. and I'm definitely buying my ticket. I'll be buying my ticket in the next couple days. But where can people find you? Your website? Share all of that, please, before we end the podcast. And for those that just those that are watching, her website is in the description box, and it's also on the Facebook post that I posted today. I put it in the comment section, so it'd be easy to find her and buy a ticket. So go ahead, Mary. Sorry.
Right. So yeah, I have adonaofsoul.us is my webpage. I do have a Facebook, Adona of Soul. I know a lot of people have found my personal webpage or Facebook, and I've put people on there, but I don't put any of the disclosures on there because you got to remember I do come from the Illuminati family, so they watch me on my personal page. So if you guys want to jump over to the Adona of Soul page, that's where I post all of that stuff. So I know it seems some people have gotten frustrated with me not posting on my Mary Beaver page, but that's just my personal life. And you're welcome to see it. I'm again nothing to hide. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm gonna print out some Book of Life Master Exit template books that for the people that come to the physical one, I'm gonna give you a book. Has the directions step by step and all that stuff on how to help you guys ascend out the right way and help deprogram yourself. So just be careful and kind to yourself. That's all I got to say because it can get painful.
Very good. Thank you, Mary. I'll be getting the book and whatever
The
else
last
that you're.
spiritual fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Brian, do you have any last questions for Mary? And then we'll go ahead and end it. And
No. I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you,
Mhm.
Mary. It's my first time getting to be to really speak with you, like on an interview show like this. This has been great, and
Yeah, it's
I
been
look
fun.
forward to more developments, especially as we see if your master exit or book of life there. How the other side acknowledges that. I'm very interested because I see you as like the test case that if yours can go through, then that's hope for the rest of us.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Yep.
again, 15 people have done it. So as far as, giving a copy to the military and they've been accepted. So I think the more people that do it, the more that we can, switch the illegitimate people out because you have to come back and claim yourself. So, and as long as we don't do it the right way, then they get to keep usurping over us and ruling over us. So
Yeah.
that's the step. That's how you save humanity is we have to get back in our positions, take back our kingdoms and save our people, right? And then we have to allow those other species to go home. That's creators' mission. They have to go home. The bad guys definitely will get their due. The military will handle it, but the other species, they got to go home. And they can leave with what they need. Our world is never ending. So we have supplies and they're going back in brand new worlds. So they have a chance to go home. That's all it's been is they want to go home and we want to take back our home, right?
Real quick before we hang up, I know that you mentioned something about a gentleman that watched his wife shapeshift in front of him. She was a reptilian and he freaked out and killed her. You had mentioned that on Rob. Yeah. And I know that I'm able to see certain beings. And, I often wonder.
It wasn't ship shifting. He was able to take the veils off his eyes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he saw her in her true form and she
well,
couldn't see him in his.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah. We don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have
because
a great deal of love and compassion for people with the reptilian. There's a lot. We have a lot of reptilians in Florida. I see them everywhere.
They're not bad people. They really aren't.
No,
they just
exactly.
Don't belong
they're
here
not.
because we're part of their food.
Yeah.
So if you go traveling in the metaverse and you're like, hey, I want to go hang out in the Delta Quadrant, you gotta have that that guide to the galaxy, what not to do. Don't go there because those people look at you like food. All right, stay away from the planets where those beings think you're food. That's all it was. Is they invaded us because again, all their worlds became depleted, no food, no water, and then here we are. There's an unlimited resource right here. So they now have their worlds. Everything's restored. They can go home, but they don't know that because their generational trauma was their worlds got blown up. They got harvested to death. There's nothing left, right? It's not in their programming to say, oh, I forgot that the galaxies can renew themselves. They can create new planets. They can do this. So now there's all these raw life form planets empty because there's nothing there that, except for wildlife. So they all fled. So they came here and to other planets, and that's what's been eradicated, except it was the hardest here because we had the crystals of life, and they thought, oh, we're going to be gods. We're going to do it ourselves. So, but no, they all get to go home now, except for the ones that did extremely bad. They're on final judgment. And now they're panicking, trying to make right with the creator.
It's too little, too late.
Yeah.
Of this world, not whatever god you guys think are running it. I was the same way. I thought it was someone else, and really to know nothing. Okay, because everything we've been told is wrong. Just call that guy up there the owner of this world when you're ready.
What's the owner of the world's real name, Mary?
Did it let me go? It didn't. I think you'd start the book of life and I'll tell you.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that.
That's that's part of the secret society.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
I have a feeling, I have a thought in my mind, but I'll wait. Okay. So thank you for coming on, Mary. Everybody go buy a ticket and get yourself learn it and start doing the master exit once it's available. Once she gives you and I'll be ordering, I guess it's in time for those that are not able to make it to you in person. You will be possibly selling these books, or will you be doing that? I mean,
they'll be posted on my webpage. I'll have a digital format, and then I'm getting ready to go down and have a book place where you guys can order it directly from them.
Okay, that's probably what I want to do because Okay, very good, Brian.
Yeah, I like
Mary,
to have the hard copy myself.
Yeah, I want the hard copy. That's definitely what I want. And I'll be in touch with you soon, Mary, about just setting up a meeting with Brian and I about having you come over and present at the full disclosure. Okay, very good. Have a wonderful day, both of you. Thank you again, Mary. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for all the information you shared with us. And everybody have a fantastic day, everybody.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Mary.
Bye.
Okay. What?
And Ida, I'll see you in half an hour.
Don't mind me, guys.
No worries. I'll see you in
a half hour.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you for
half
being
hour.
here.
All right. Bye-bye. Brian, see you later. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay? See you in a little bit.